All right. What's up, man?
What's up?
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Let's start with you introducing yourself.
I am Gus Kerner, aka Gus Life for Life 2, not Gus Life for Life. That's the original me, but this is the new me. I had to make a new account. It's a whole new thing.
Okay.
You understand?
So, what made you choose the whole name as your artist name?
Honestly, it was like 7, 8 years ago, something like that, maybe 9. It's when we first moved here. Great friend of ours, No For Real, Justin. Every time I see him, he'd be like Gus Life. After a while, kind of just stuck. Everyone was like being like Gus Life, and kind of sounded right. It just sounded right. So I was like, why not? Why not bring it to the scene? Best life for life.
Okay.
We stay on that.
What's the first thing you made in glass?
The first thing I was like maybe 4. It was like just a blob for my mom. It was pretty ugly, but she kept it to this day. She still has it. I love it.
What I usually like to ask is, do you still have the first thing you made?
Yep.
So, mom
Yeah.
still has it, huh?
Yeah. Mom still has it. It's in her little correct collection of trinkets.
Was it color? Was it clear?
I think it was just clear. It was just like
Yeah.
clear, and then I was just messing around like this, pushing stuff together. It looks freaking weird, but it's amazing to see that I've come some ways.
Yeah, man. So, how did you get started in glass?
Fuck. Feel like mostly, I mean, it all comes from my father. He showed me watching him work, cowboy, watching him work and make all the crazy things he's made over the years. Really just brought me into the scene, wanting to see if I can perfect that. And like more than anything, his old school, everything old school. I want to bring that back. It's probably like my favorite thing there is. I wish I was around when the scene just started coming up. People were still being secretive about their stuff. I feel like yeah, it's all about sharing. Now it's completely changed. The scene. You're like everyone wants to share each other's ideas, stuff like that. It's like the whole group of it. It's just probably my favorite thing about it is the people, the scene.
Yeah, okay. So you were watching your dad kind of get going when you were like a little kid, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That was what got you going.
He was
Because
already in his thing, pushing like, probably 5, 10 years by then. And I loved it. It was the art. My other siblings didn't like to pick it up like I did, but is whenever I could be in the studio, I was always there. Yeah.
so the next question I usually ask is, were there big influences when you start? So
Yeah.
obviously your dad, but was there other stuff that you were kind of paying attention to, or like things that you kind of wanted to incorporate into the glass a little bit?
Yeah.
Or like what were his techniques, the stuff that he was doing, the stuff that you were interested in, or was it other
His
stuff?
line work, the wig wags that he can do just bring pop to basically anything in my opinion. Sculpting, cool thing. I never fell in love with it. Still super cool. I just personally can't do it myself that well, I haven't practiced enough. But even my mom, she's a great faceter, and just watching her freaking do her thing is just absolutely crazy. Anyone really watching them do their own thing, like Adam Reeds, just about fucking any glass artist you can name. I love all their work. I don't know. It
Okay.
just depends. Yeah.
Where'd you first sell your glass?
Probably like online Instagram, I'd say. I feel like that's a big thing for everyone, through Instagram, stuff like that. But it was just people I'd meet, that came through the studio were like, "Oh, I'd love to support you," stuff like that. And it just got me going more and more that I wanted to make new stuff all the time. It's the art of perfection, getting better over time. And people wanted to see that, after a while, they're like, "Oh, bro, you got to try and make this and this." And I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I'd love to do that. Like, that sounds so cool. Let me give it a shot."
Yeah, okay. Were there certain objects that you made at the start that you still make?
Um, yes. When I first started, I don't know if you know them, dot dudes. They're just I I got them after the candy. Dots are my favorite candy, and I was like, yo, why don't I try making something that's around the same shape, size, not too big, not too small. They can get up to size, but just little dot dudes. There's just these little guys that you can sit, wherever on your dash, in your kitchen, wherever you glue them anywhere. I love them.
Um, so you've been making those pretty much the entire time of your career then, yeah?
Yeah,
From the
no,
start, yeah.
definitely. Yep. Freaking I've done milli dot dudes, inside out dot dudes, anything that can be turned solid into a dot dude, hollow, it does not matter. I love them. Yeah.
So this question is going to be an interesting one for you specifically because the question is, what did the scene look like when you first got into it? But you were so young, so like, what are the first memories that you feel like you have of like glass scene stuff when you were a kid?
watching my pops train other people, or like showing them stuff that even like I couldn't comprehend it at the time. Like this was back when we lived in Kansas. Like they were just still doing crazy shit. Fucking millie poles, all that fun stuff. Like that, seeing how big you could really go with glass is really what amazed me. Cause I'm like, what? How could you get to that scale? Like, how is that even possible? But then being here now and being like, oh my God, you could really go big. Like old school, big horns, big freaking sections, everything big. It's just my thing. I like how they did it back in the day. I wish I was around when they first started that stuff, because that's what really amazed me.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you feel like inspires your work the most right now?
People, mostly just the people being like amazed or excited when they get to see something I've done, and like pushing myself to that limit to be able to be like, oh yeah, I did this, and they're like, what? You can make a pipe, you can make a bong. I'm like, yeah, so could you if you tried hard enough. It just takes a little practice and effort and like determination. You really got to be determined, because it's a bunch of fail, repeat, fail, repeat, and then you perfect it and you're like, oh my God. And I wouldn't even personally say that I've perfected anything. I just enjoy practicing it over and over again so you get it right and you're satisfied, because I'll make stuff over and over again, not be happy with it. And then once I finally hit that point where I'm like, wow, I can do that, just take some effort, then you're so satisfied. It's the best feeling in the world.
Yeah. What's your favorite thing to do outside of glass?
If I'm not hanging out with family, my lady, I'd say fishing, video games. I enjoy getting on the river and fishing with my father more than anything. There's nothing like that feeling of catching a big chromie, you know what I'm saying? Reeling that shit in, holding it up with a good picture. Oh my God, that's the best feeling there is. Flowing down the river, definitely like the flow for sure. Got myself a little raft. I love it.
Yeah, great. What's your favorite thing to make right now in glass?
Right now, I've been messing around with a bunch of stepping ladders, which are basically just like a bunch of Jesus seals over and over again. It's a weird one for a lot of people because they just like never want to. I wouldn't even say take that step, but it's like it's a scary one for sure. And like you can mess it up so many times, but when you nail it, oh my God, it's the coolest looking thing ever. I swear.
Great. What do you hope the scene looks like in 10 years?
I hope it goes. It sounds crazy, but I hope it takes a step back into old school almost. Like I want to see those big excessive horns, like 30 horns on a piece. You know what I'm saying? Like that. That stuff really got me going. So I hope. I know it's not going to go that way. I don't think. Maybe I can bring it back,
There
but
you go.
like I feel like it's hard to go crazier and crazier. Like people are just making the most insane stuff every day, and it's like I don't know how I could compete or comprehend that. I'm like, oh my gosh, I know one day I'll be able to get there, but it takes a little practice for sure.
Yeah, and I feel like it's gone like the smaller is baller thing has
Oh
kind of
yeah,
gotten bigger, right? And so
fuck.
you're almost saying opposite. You want it to go bigger and bigger,
I want
not
it to
go
go.
smaller and
Yeah, I want
smaller.
it to go back to that big. Everyone's seeing like a piece, like, oh my God, this thing's about as tall as me. Like, yeah, we can go there. It's just takes a lot of effort. It's super cool.
Yeah. What do you feel like more glass blowers should be paying attention to?
Just the people around them. Honestly, it's like you have so much to learn. Like, yeah, you may know this, but this person could do it a different way. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I can watch my father wigwag stuff, but then I can go watch someone else and they're just doing it a complete different way. And it is just as crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, it takes that practice, that skill, but once you nail it, no matter who you are, it's amazing. You just got to look around for you. Like, chunk glass, thumbprints. Yeah, everyone does them, but no one does them like him. Everyone does it just a little bit differently. Where it's like, wow. So there's like 1,000 ways to approach one thing, and it's like kind of crazy to think about. Or even fume. Gabe Mack, crazy fume artist, old school, love the work, and like I'm just like, damn, everyone does fume, but no one does fume like Gabe. You know what I'm saying? Everyone's just so different. That's something to really look out for. Is like, oh, I do it this way, but how do you do it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Great answer, dude. I like that. Last question. What do you hope to accomplish in glass?
That is a good question. I don't even Glass isn't even about the fame. It's more just being able to like say, in my opinion, say, oh yeah, I did this, being satisfied with yourself in a sense where you're like, yeah, I can do that, look at something and be like, oh, I could definitely accomplish that. But it's really setting yourself to those goals. Like, how hard do you want to push yourself? You know what I'm saying? And I feel like if you're committed, you're going to try and make everything there is under the sun until you find your thing, and then when you do, you'll be like crushing that out, all of it. It's great.
Great, man. Thank you.
Of course.